It is tight times for the Miami Dolphins. Mike McDaniel, Tua Tagovailoa, possibly Chris Greer, Stephen Ross. Fan base not very happy. So I decided, why not? Let's bring him in. The man, the myth, the legend from the Miami Herald, Omar Kelly. Omar Kelly, I was talking about it earlier. It seems like Chris Greer and Stephen Ross have tried everything outside of blowing it up, because blowing it up would mean total revamping everything. They've tried the tank, they've tried the toughness, they've tried the finesse, they've tried everything. What's going on with these Miami Dolphins? Break it down for us.
One, if you want to be real about the situation, Steve Ross does not like the hiring employee searching process of this thing. If you go back in history and you think about his pursuit of Jim Harbaugh, who he's going to face here while he still had a head coach. If you consider the hiring of Dennis Hickey and then realizing that Dennis Hickey was incapable of doing the things that you needed him to do when the NFL was moving to the analytics realm, and then having to hire Mike Tannenbaum as his overlord. If you consider the hiring of Joe Philbin, which clearly he was not a head coach. If you consider the Adam Gase and the Jeff Ireland and every process that he's ever gone through, including some where his first candidate didn't want to be with him, has been a very painful process. And so what he's got, pursuit of Sean Payton and not ending up with Payton. So he's not very fond of this process. But the one thing I do respect his decision to let this play itself out. Let it play itself out. Let it bottom out. While most of us suspected it wouldn't work, have we given it our all to see if this process is going to work? And truthfully speaking, we hadn't. But now that we have, and we're doing it, and we see that the results aren't favorable, it might be time to move on. But I will say this: they still have a chance to turn the season around. It starts with beating the Chargers,
Omar.
and then you got to beat the Browns. Yeah, I mean, it's possible.
Omar.
It's possible.
Omar.
Yes.
This team was mid before the season started.
I know.
They're below mid now. And what here's if this team was 4-1 and all these other teams like the Baltimores, Kansas Cities, the teams that we always put ahead of them, if we saw them falling down and then this team was somewhat good, you'd be like, okay, maybe this is the year, this is the chance.
Cincinnati,
right?
Baltimore. I mean, keep in mind, we're having a year last year like Cincinnati and Baltimore having this year. I mean, it's not a given that you're going to be healthy and hot and your offensive line's going to stay all together. It's not a given. You know what I'm saying? So it's a process, and you got to let it play out. But unfortunately, this rebuild is broken. It's not going to work. And we're pretty clear and evident, because I will argue to you that this is probably the most flawed roster that I've seen on the Dolphins since probably 2007. But then again, I also haven't seen it without the right side of its offensive line. So, maybe things change with James Daniels and Austin Jackson, but maybe it doesn't. The point I'm making is it's not too late for them to save the season. They could easily go on a 4-game winning streak and reset the terms of the season.
And they easily can go on a 4-game losing streak.
You're correct.
It's more likely that they'll go on a 4-game losing streak than it is for them to go on a 4-game winning streak.
That's true. I cannot deny that.
But I'm with you, Omar. I believe that you could turn your season around, but what are some of the things that Mike McDaniel and this team has to do to help turn this season around? Because right now we're kind of at a low point.
They have to better at the trenches. You have to stop the run. You have to run the ball effectively. Those are two things that they have not been able to do so far. Well, they were able to run the ball up until last week, and that was bad. That was colossally bad and embarrassingly bad. And we'll see if they can rebound and come back from that. But in terms of stopping the run, they haven't been able to do that all season. And I don't know if there's a fix or a solution that's on the recipe on the roster. And until there is, you're just going to bleed out.
Omar,
if we're going to be real about it.
We're talking to Omar Kelly from the Miami Herald. Talking some Dolphins football here. Omar, let me ask you a question, bro. I wasn't one who was before the season that was all going crazy for the front seven, but that was expected to be the strength of this Dolphins roster because the secondary was banged up, hurt, and had no experience.
Yes.
Why hasn't this front seven lived up to the expectations that they had prior to the season? Because I could make some cases that as bad as the secondary play, they're holding their own considering with all the injuries and
and they're not being embarrassed.
Inexperienced. They're not being embarrassed, but you know who's being embarrassed? That front seven.
Yeah. Here, when you talk to defensive coordinators, they all say the exact same thing. I've been doing this for 20 years, and there isn't a defensive coordinator who says our number one priority is to stop the run. And imagine if your number one priority for everybody for 2 decades, if not more, is to stop the run, and you can't stop the run as a team, you can't do anything. You can't pressure the quarterback because on third downs, you're in run pass situations. You can't have effective red zone defense because teams could just continue to run it till they punch it in. And right now, I'm never too critical of rookies. I don't even you can't find an article where I have written something critical of Jonas Savonai and Kenneth Grant and Jordan Phillips because I understand the challenges that they face as rookies. You don't know what you don't know until you learn it. And like last week, when Kenneth Grant, the Carolina Panthers are doubling Kenneth Grant and driving him a bazillion yards off the ball and just running through it. And, and Anthony Weaver is blitzing. He's people are like, oh, you've run the most, you've called the most blitzes in the NFL. And he's like, yeah, most of those are run blitzes. He is literally blitzing gaps to stop the run. And it's still not working because when you're blitzing gaps to stop the run, then you're leaving yourself vulnerable somewhere else. Some other person is not doing their job. And so when you're at that point and you can't stop the run and there's nothing that you could do about it, you can't pressure the quarterback. You can't get turnovers. It's just a recipe for disaster.
Oh, Omar Kelly has been following the Miami Dolphins for how many years? I mean, whether it be with the Sun Sentinel, whether it be with Miami Herald or any other outlet. How long have you been following this team closely?
2007, the 1-15 season. Greg Camarillo, appreciate you, was my first year.
Oh my God, 18 years.
Yeah.
19 seasons.
Mean, you speak for Dolphins Nation. What has frustrated you the most so far this season with this incarnation of the Miami Dolphins?
Just how poorly the roster has been built. And my realization, awareness, understanding that the person who built it is quite incompetent and does not know what he's doing.
But Omar, if you know that and the fan base knows that, why doesn't Boss Ross know that? And I don't want, and I know he knows where the bodies are buried. You know what? Forget that. Sometimes
I didn't say that. That didn't come out of my mouth.
I said it. Sometimes that's the rumor. He knows where the bodies are buried. But you know what? Sometimes somebody else's body needs to be buried.
He's here because they're giving it one last try. Now, whether or not he continues to be in this role or within the organization, and maybe is reshuffled somewhere else, that's to be seen. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Okay.
But I will acknowledge that there is a Brian Flores class action lawsuit that is headed towards a jury trial. There is nothing that the NFL can do about it, and they've tried and tried and tried. And Chris Greer, Steve Ross, everybody involved is going to have to be deposed. And then probably going to have to take the stand. And there is no settling this thing.
I get that. I could. You're speaking of facts. I could tiptoe around it. I could Gregory Hines around it. You can't let the man go because he knows too much stuff. So therefore, can't fire him. I didn't say you said that. I saying that.
Okay.
I'm the one who's Gregory Hines and tiptoeing right now, tap dancing around the situation. He knows where the bodies are buried. Can't let him go because he's a key witness.
Okay.
That's what it is. He's key to the witness. So we're not letting him go. So therefore, that makes sense. We will relieve Mr. Greer of his general manager duties and find him somewhere up in the organization where he still can make a nice income and not have to be embarrassed.
In charge of football decisions.
Okay.
I think that's
Omar, let's not incriminate ourselves, yourself, anything. I want to talk about a nuclear option tomorrow. Justin Herbert, the Chargers come in. Herbert balls out. Tua looks terrible. The Dolphins lose something like 40-7. Do we see changes possibly Monday to this team in the organization?
I think the only time you're going to see changes is when this fan base absolutely, unequivocally, without a reservation or doubt, checks out on this team.
Omar.
We
were there for game 2 against New England. There were a lot of empty seats.
Oh, no, there's still a lot of empty seats. But
No. Let's go by a home game. Week 2 against New England. First game of the season, first home game against a division rival with a fan base that is very heavy down here in South Florida.
Yeah, Jets fans.
I'm talking about this is the Patriots. This is on Patriots.
Oh,
they didn't show up. They didn't show up for that game in week 2. Week 4, Monday night, early game against the dismal Jets. Crazy fan base, Jet fan base down here. It was empty. There was a lot of empty seats. Correct?
Yes, correct.
And that is with two teams that is within your division that has a heavy fan base down here in this market. Now you got the Chargers from all the way from the left coast. Yep. They don't sell out their own fan. They don't even sell out their home games. Other teams come to their homes and sell it out. So you can't figure that a Charger fan base is going to be coming down to South Florida at Hard Rock Stadium. And this team just lost a 17-point lead and lost 27-24 to the Carolina Panthers. I expect to see a lot of empty seats tomorrow.
I don't doubt you, but but I could tell you that this fan base hasn't checked out yet. They're close, but they haven't checked out yet. And you know what will resurgitate them? A victory over the Chargers, and then maybe a victory over the Browns, and it'll keep you tuning in and keep you seeing what's going to happen. But if you do get blown out by the Chargers, probably everybody's days are numbered. But the point I've always made about firing people, what is it going to accomplish? Firing people right now, what is it going to accomplish? What is it going to do? What is it going to achieve? Because from my standpoint, it's only going to make the team worse. Because you're removing the play caller, then there's going to be adjustment for how long it takes the new play caller to figure out what he's doing, cut his groove. Whoever's going to be the head coach, are you going to put Anthony Weaver as the head coach, considering his unit's probably the number one problem on the team? Like, what exactly are you doing? You decide that you want to move on. Okay, move on how and with who? Like, who becomes the head coach, the interim head coach of this team?
That's a great point, Omar. We get worse by firing. And you're not going to bring fans back that have already checked out on the season. And the fans that are still checked in the season see that you're punting on the season. So why should they be invested? So the easy answer of, just fire everybody, maybe isn't that much of an answer to anything at all.
But you keep them, the fan is not going to go. If they continue to lose.
I don't think the fans are going to go no matter what if they continue to lose. I mean, but you already sold your season tickets. It's not like you got to sell. You already sold your season tickets. What you need to worry about is the renewal point. At what point do these sales reps start calling their clients and saying, "Hey, are you ready to renew?" And a fan can tell you what that point is. I actually don't even know. I think it's at some point in October or November, but. We got a little ways to go. You know what I'm saying? We still got a little ways to go.
Omar, let me ask you this. After the final game against the Patriots, right?
Yes.
You're talking about next year in January.
Talking about January. Talking about this season, but yes, 2026, January, the last game of the year, right? I believe that's against the Patriots in New England.
That's correct.
Which one of these three people will still be on the Miami Dolphins after that game? Will it be the quarterback? Will it be the head coach? Or will it be the general manager? Will it be one of these three, two of these three, or all three will be back?
I think it's only going to be one of the three. I think Chris Greer might be still employed by the Miami Dolphins, but probably not in that position as general manager. In terms of Tua, I don't think there's any way his contract next year is completely fully guaranteed. That's the last year that's guaranteed. You're going to ride that out and see. You just have no choice unless somebody wants to trade for him. And it's possible that somebody wants to trade for him. Trust me, it's definitely possible. Because have you seen a lot of these college quarterbacks?
I'm a Saints
fan. That was the next question. That was the next question I was going to ask you, because it was like, this 2026 draft, I don't like some of the quarterbacks. Drew Alar from Penn State doesn't impress me. Your boy Kuzan Dan Nesmeyer doesn't impress me. Maybe if the Oregon quarterback comes out, maybe. So, Michael, because to follow up to that, which one of the three is coming back? If it is Tua and that big contract, but there's a new man, there's going to be a new boss, a new head coach on the sidelines. And the Dolphins just don't have a great season. Say they finish 3-14 or 4-13, and they have a pick in a top 7, top 8. Would they draft a quarterback, a new franchise quarterback, and then maybe go through the Denver Broncos situation of just maybe have to eat a year or another year or two of Russell's contract, and then give the keys to the throne to the new quarterback that they draft?
I don't necessarily think that that's the greatest recipe for success, in my opinion, because one, if I was overwhelmed, if I was blown away by one of these quarterbacks, because realistically, you're probably going to have to be the top 3 pick. Let's be real about this team. Are they top 3 bad? Not yet. They got work to do to get there. And I'm not in love with any of these quarterbacks. If this was a great quarterback year, I'd be like, okay, bottom out. Figure out how you get yourself in position to, get what the quarterback that you need. But realistically, and I know people hate when I say this, but Tua's on pace to do something in the NFL that only 2 other quarterbacks have done, and that's Aaron Rodgers and Steve Young. Now, people will call it empty numbers and empty calories, and that's all well and good, but Tua has proven he's not going to be the reason that you win an NFL game, but he's also proven that he's not going to necessarily be the reason that you lose one.
That Buffalo was him.
Yeah, no. Usually.
There's a lot of usually. I can go back to the games that it was on him.
Let's
and those 2 guys that you mentioned with Hall of Fame or future Hall of Fame, they had a big chip on their shoulder, and they were finally able to knock that chip off to the point where we no longer had to question their legacy or their skill. That's what we're waiting for Tua. That's the moment. Tua hasn't had that moment where we can be like, all right, now we can shut the hell up. He did that. He's done that. He hasn't proven that, and that every opportunity that's been presented for him to shut us up, he hasn't. So that's why the Tua nons, you don't hear from them no more, and all the Tua haters, you're hearing very a fervor now.
They're loud, they're vocal, they're really they've taken over, and they have a great right to be honest with you, because this team is not very good, and I have no idea what's going to make them good.
But Omar, on a positive note, I'm not crazy to say this. You're getting a reeling Chargers team coming in. They've got a lot of injuries. They have to go across the country to play a game against a team that is desperate to prove that they're tougher than they were last game, defensively and offensively. It's not totally crazy to say the Dolphins walk away with a win tomorrow.
It is not crazy, and they have a very good chance of walking away with the win, but that requires them to actually do things that they haven't done in a while, which is play a disciplined game, be efficient and consistent. So I'm not necessarily certain that they can do that, but you never know when a team is ready and willing to turn a corner. I'm being honest with you. So I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for them to show me who they are.
All right. So week 6 tomorrow, which will be a third of the season out the way. You're telling me this is the game where we're going to know if this locker room is fractured and splintered after this game.
I actually have game 8 as circled as my, have they quit game? Have they sold out on this coaching staff? That's my breaking point for this season is week 8. Right now they're blaming everything on the rookies and claiming that oh, we got depleted offensive line, and they do. Hopefully at some point the offensive linemen that are out, Austin Jackson and James Daniels, come back and give you a little bit better play, give to a little bit better of a pocket, help you run the ball a little bit better. But truthfully speaking, it's tough sledding for this team, because the deeper you dig the hole, the harder it is for you to get out. And their hole is pretty deep now. But it's not impossible for them to get out, but they're pretty much getting close to it.
Should be a wild ride. Nobody does it better than the Miami Herald's Omar Kelly. Omar, I know you're all over the place. What's the best way to follow you and to get into all of the details that you do with the Dolphins?
You can follow me at Omar Kelly on Twitter. I'm pretty much I'm active there. And then I have a podcast called Dolphins in Depth, and then another podcast with three other podcasters called Dolphins Collective that you can find on YouTube, both Dolphins in Depth and Dolphins Collective. Then I do work with QAM. I'll be part of the pregame show tomorrow at noon.
Nobody does it better. Omar, thank you so much for spending some time with us. We look forward to hearing from you tomorrow and, of course, throughout the week with Joe Rose in the morning.
All right, guys.
How's it going, Omar?
That is Omar Kelly, selling you a little bit of sunshine, but also selling you a little bit of darkness right there.
It's not solid. It's just selling you reality,
Yeah,
bro.
the reality is it is early in the season. I agree with Omar. There's crazy things happen.
See, this was cool when it was the first 4 weeks. Now we're a third of the season.
He said week 8.
Week 8's half of the season. It's almost half of the season. I'm not waiting for half of the season to realize that, we're dog trash. He can. He's a writer. He follows his team. He travels. He's got to do that. Vlad, no. Vlad goes to the locker room, gets his interviews, and then that's it. But I'm gonna be real with you. No, you can't be 1-5. I don't want to hear 1-5, and then I don't want to hear, maybe this, that. Stop. I'm gonna tell you what it is. You want to know what it is, bro? Dolphins fans, I don't want to sound like Jet fans. Y'all sounding like Jets fans right now. You don't want to sound like Jets fans.